Exposed. The incredible act of a cleaning lady who transformed the lives of two blind twins. Clara was just a cleaning lady in a bustling suburban neighborhood, or so it seemed. With tired hands she scrubbed the floors of sprawling homes, her heart heavy with the weight of her twin sons, Max and Leo, who were both born blind. The world saw her as just another figure in the background, but she was so much more than that. She was a fierce protector, a dedicated mother fighting against the odds. Each day, Clara juggled multiple jobs, fueled by love and an unbreakable bond with her boys. As the school year began, the twins faced cruelty they hadn't anticipated. The laughter that echoed in the halls felt like daggers, cutting deeper than they could express. At home, the emotional turmoil weighed heavily on Clara. It crushed her to hear the sting of Max's words as he said, "Mom, why do they treat us like this?" Leo's quiet suffering stirred her heart. She could feel their pain seep into her bones, mingling with her own doubts about whether her sacrifices were enough. In the muted light of their cramped living room, she whispered reassurances to them, though she felt like a hollow shell. The community was bustling with talk of a local fundraiser aimed at helping small businesses weather a storm. A flicker of hope ignited within Clara when she learned about a technology grant that could provide assistive devices for her sons. This could offer Max and Leo the independence they'd always craved. Her heart raced as she envisioned their faces lighting up with excitement, no longer encumbered by the dark. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Clara began her mission to rally the neighborhood. She knocked on doors, her heart pounding as she shared Max and Leo's story, her words laced with passion and resolve. To her surprise, she stirred an unexpected unity among her neighbors, bridging divides that once felt insurmountable. Yet shadows loomed over her efforts. Skeptical whispers echoed along the streets, where some eyes seemed blind to the brilliance in her sons. The very community she hoped to support her could feel like a wall she'd struggled to climb. At a town hall meeting, she took a deep breath, her heart pounding like a drum. My sons deserve this help, not just because they are blind, but because they are filled with dreams, she proclaimed fiercely. Faces began to soften, but just as hope flickered, a voice cut through the air. Do they deserve this help just for being born different? The room fell swiftly silent. Clara felt her heart sink, the pulse of doubt ringing loudly in her ears. The barrier between acceptance and rejection loomed large before her as she stood before her neighbors. Clara grappled with her insecurities, her purpose now more profound than a simple grant. It was a battle for dignity, for the recognition that her sons were worthy, with dreams worthy of chasing. She knew the fight ahead wouldn't just change their lives. It could reshape hearts in the community as well. With eyes wide open and hearts racing, they awaited a verdict. Could love and determination ultimately conquer the shadows of doubt that threatened to engulf them all? Clara stood frozen, breath caught in her throat as the chill of that voice lingered in the air. It was a harsh reminder of the battle she faced, not just for her sons, but for every child like them. The silence grew thick, wrapping around her like a heavy blanket. Seconds felt like hours as she searched the faces in the crowd. Were they with her, or would they turn away? Did you know? She finally spoke, her voice trembling but steady. Did you know they dream of being pilots? They want to feel the wind against their faces as they soar through the sky. She sensed the shift, a ripple of curiosity moving through the room. Maybe, just maybe, she could pull them from the edge of misunderstanding. Max and Leo had not just endured blindness, they had the spirit of adventurers. Each morning, she bore witness to their vibrant imagination, how they navigated the world with hopes painted in brilliant colors only they could see. Clara shared these stories, her heart swelling with pride. They've never let their blindness define them, and neither should we allow it to define our community. As her words spilled forth, the skeptical faces began to soften. People exchanged glances, and Clara could feel the energy shifting. The hum of surprise seemed to spark a flicker of compassion in the room. A woman in the back stood up, her hands trembling. I was wrong, she said, her voice breaking. I didn't see them as anything other than different. But there's so much more. The murmurs grew louder, voices overlapping as Clara felt a swell of hope. A few more joined in, each sharing their impressions of Max and Leo, recalling moments when they had crossed paths at school, their laughter breaking the air. "You know, my son can't see either," a man spoke up, his voice infectious with sincerity. "He has learned to play the piano. It amazes me how much he can do." What they can do? As the dialogue blossomed, Clara held back tears. For the first time, the air was alive with understanding. This wasn't just about her sons. It was about an entire community rising above prejudice. But just as the tide of support swelled, a shadow loomed. One person, still unmoved, called out again, "But what if this idea fails? What if they can't use the technology? What's the point of spending resources on dreams that may never come true?" The question hung heavy in the air. Clara felt a lump forming in her throat. Would the compounded fears of failure overshadow her vision for her sons? She took a deep breath, steadying herself. "Isn't every dream a risk?" she countered. "We invest in dreams every day. We invest our time, love, and hope. Why stop when it comes to our children? They are deserving of that chance." A stirring in the crowd began. The sentiment rose like steam from freshly brewed coffee. People shared stories of their own failures, their own stumbles, and how they had learned to rise again. Each account bridged a connection, diminishing the walls of doubt. As the meeting drew to a close, Clara felt the warmth of acceptance creeping into her heart. It wasn't just about technology anymore. It was a movement to uplift her boys and every child who felt unseen. But then, just when Clara thought they could embrace the victory, she noticed a figure slipping into the back, a man she once trusted, now with a fire in his eyes that chilled her blood. He was known for his influence in the community, and his presence was unsettling. What was he plotting? Clara's heart raced as she sensed a new challenge looming on the horizon. Would they truly embrace her sons? Out of the shadows, was he ready to strike back? Or did he hold a key to change within that tension? The gathering ended, but the stakes rose. The battle had just begun. Clara's resolve intensified. She would protect her boys at all costs, even against the creeping shadow. Would she be ready for what was to come? Clara stepped out into the night, her pulse still racing. She could feel the weight of the room's transformation resting on her shoulders, a mixture of hope and trepidation. That man, Victor, lingered in her mind like a dark cloud on a sunny day. His influence in the community could crush everything she had built up that evening. Determined not to let her fears take root, Clara took a deep breath and set her course for home. The stars were bright, glimmers of light in the deep indigo sky. Each one seemed to wink at her, whispering reassurances of resilience and strength. She thought of Max and Leo, tucked safely in their cozy beds, their dreams swirling around them like the galaxies above. She walked faster, eager to reach them. Clara had always found solace in her boys. They were the embodiment of her purpose, a constant reminder that fighting was worth it. Just as she reached the front door, her phone vibrated in her pocket. A message from her best friend, Mai. "Hey, heard the news. Victor's been talking to some board members about potential funding cuts for the pilot program." Clara's heart sank. She couldn't let this happen. They had only just begun to change opinions, to open the dialogue. The town had started to see her boys as valuable, not as burdens. She typed back a quick response, urgency stringing her fingers. "I need to do something. Can you meet me tomorrow? Bring the others." Mai replied fast, her enthusiasm contagious even through the screen. "Absolutely. We'll talk strategy." Inside, the warmth of home embraced her. The familiar smells of dinner wafted through the air, making her stomach rumble. She found Max and Leo at the kitchen table, their fingers tracing over a map of the stars. They had set up a mini planetarium, creating constellations out of paper and glue. "Look, Mom, we're going to fly to the North Star," Max exclaimed, his excitement radiating off him. Clara couldn't help but smile. They were unyielding in their happiness, their laughter sparking like fireworks in her heart. She sat down next to them, and as they shared their plans for stellar adventures, she felt a flicker of courage ignite within her. They could reach that North Star just like they could reach their dreams. That night, Clara lay awake, the shadows of doubts creeping back in. Victor's sneer was ever present, a constant reminder of resistance. She envisioned the faces of the people who had begun to believe in her boys. Those moments she had shared during the meeting held power. They had transformed skepticism into hope. But could that hope withstand another trial? Her thoughts churned until sleep finally claimed her. Morning light filtered into her bedroom, spilling warmth across the wooden floor. Clara awoke with purpose. The meeting with Mai and their friends was crucial. They needed a plan, something bold to push back against Victor. A rally perhaps to draw attention and show the community how far Max and Leo had come. As she prepared breakfast, her mind raced. What if they could create an event that showcased her son, something powerful enough to make even Victor reconsider his stance? The thought took root and began to blossom within her. "Mom, pancakes?" Leo's voice called from the dining room, snapping her back to reality. "Yes, coming," she replied, but her mind was still elsewhere, mapping out a journey filled with potential. When she finally joined them at the table, she saw excitement brimming in their eyes. Their world was spinning with dreams, and Clara was determined to ensure they would fly to the stars. But the plans were just beginning. How could she possibly pull it all together? What obstacles would they face when the community's whispers turned into open opposition? With a flicker of worry crossing her heart, she knew Victor would not give up easily. In that moment, however, all Clara could think was one thing. The fight wasn't over yet. And soon, she would have to choose. What personal sacrifices would she make to protect her sons and their dreams? As the sun climbed higher in the sky, Clara sat at her kitchen table, staring at the remnants of breakfast scattered across the surface. The boys were buzzing with energy, lost in their plans for an imaginary rocket. But Clara felt a heaviness in her chest, a sense of urgency building inside her. What if her plan to rally support fell flat? What if Victor succeeded in crushing all she had worked for? Taking a deep breath, she pushed those fears aside. Today was about action. She would meet with Mai and their friends, and together they would craft a strategy that would truly make a difference. Clara needed their energy, creativity, and collective will. Her mind buzzed with possibilities, how they could showcase the boys' talents and passions, highlighting their journey in front of the community. "Guys," she called out, snapping the boys' attention. "Do you want to help me with something big today?" Max's eyes lit up. "Is it a secret mission?" he asked, leaning closer, already brimming with ideas. "Something like that. It's about showing everyone how special you are." Leo bounced in his seat. "Can we make starships? I can paint them." Clara's heart swelled. "Definitely. Let us make it a project for the whole neighborhood. We'll decorate your starships, tell your stories, and remind everyone that you can reach for the North Star." The boys cheered, and Clara couldn't help but smile. It was moments like these that fueled her resolve. While they crafted and planned, she envisioned their rally, a gathering not just to oppose Victor but to invite connection, to bridge gaps in understanding. She wanted families to see Max and Leo for who they really were: intelligent, creative, and deserving of acceptance. The colorful chaos of the boys' enthusiasm spread throughout the kitchen as they began gathering supplies. Markers, cardboard, glitter, everything transformed into tools of their spirited mission. Clara was there too, sketching out ideas, encouraging their creativity. As they worked, her phone buzzed again. Another message from Mai came through. "What are we thinking for the rally? Should we have speeches? Maybe some music?" Clara quickly responded, "Yes, all that. Let us schedule a time for everyone to meet at the park. We need to spread the word." With each message exchanged, her tightness eased, replaced by growing determination. They were not alone. Clara could feel the collective will building, ready to push back against Victor's impending threats. The afternoon twisted into evening. Clara watched as her boys painted their starships, the air filled with laughter and chatter. "Look at mine, Mom," Leo said, holding up a vibrant creation that sparkled under the light. Max's design boasted swirling galaxies, rich with colors. "We're going to take everyone to space," he shouted. "Absolutely," Clara laughed, her worries momentarily forgotten. But as night fell, the reality of their venture began to settle back among her thoughts. Could their effort be enough? Would one day of creativity and sharing transform Victor's negative role? As she tucked her boys into bed that night, Clara lingered at the doorway for a moment longer, watching them drift off to sleep. They were so full of hope, their faces illuminated by the soft glow of the nightlight. A sudden ping from her phone interrupted her thoughts. It was a news alert about Victor's latest comments, casting more doubt on the program's future. Clara's heart raced once more. She knew he'd be watching their rally closely. What if he disrupted them? Or worse, what if he attempted to silence their voices altogether? The fight for her boys was intensifying, and the stakes were higher than ever. Tomorrow they would boldly step forward into the challenge, but Clara could already sense the storm looming on the horizon. She resolved to prepare herself, not just for her sons, but for the entire community watching. Would love and belief be enough to withstand Victor's force? With a determined nod, she whispered to herself in the dim light, "This is just the beginning and I won't back down." Her heart pounded with the weight of uncertainty, yet the path lay ahead unfolding with every choice they would make. And while they prepared to shine, she wondered what their true light would reveal. Clara woke up to the chirping of birds, a reminder that today was the day. She stretched, feeling the weight of her mission settle on her shoulders, mingling with the morning light that poured in through the kitchen window. The boys were still asleep, their dreams likely filled with their starships and the adventures that awaited them. She brewed coffee, the rich aroma filling the kitchen, and took a moment to glance at the colorful starships still scattered across the table. It felt like a painting in progress, each creation a testament to hope and resilience. Today they would share that message with the world. With the boys finally awake and excited, Clara made breakfast, her mind racing ahead to the gathering at the park. They filled their plates and talked about what they would say during their showcase. Max wanted to share his dreams of space exploration, while Leo was already planning how to call everyone's attention with his ideas for stunts during the presentation. Their enthusiasm made Clara's heart swell. It fueled her resolve in a way that only a mother's love could. After breakfast, Clara sat them down. "Okay guys, we need to practice our messages. What do you want everyone to know?" Max tapped his chin, thinking seriously, "I want them to know that we're not so different. We just see the world differently. That's perfect," Clara said, beaming. Leo nodded vigorously in agreement. Soon after, the doorbell rang. It was Mai and a few other friends, each carrying bags of supplies and decorations. The team began to buzz, working together to transform the park into a vibrant scene. Colorful banners were hung, and music was set up while Clara organized the speeches. But the fear crept back in as she watched people stroll by, some casting curious glances, others shaking their heads. Victor's influence loomed over the neighborhood like dark clouds. She could feel the tightening grip of anxiety around her heart. Could they really change minds today? As noon approached, community members trickled into the park, some drawn in by curiosity, others genuinely concerned for the boys' futures. Clara gathered everyone together, her heart pounding in her chest. She took a deep breath and stepped forward. "Thank you all for coming today," she began, her voice strong yet soothing. "We are here to share our stories to show you who Max and Leo really are." She glanced at her boys, their faces lit with excitement and pride. Mai took her cue next, speaking passionately about the beauty of embracing differences. Clara watched as people started to lean in, their eyes softening. The moment felt ripe with possibility. And then, out of nowhere, Clara spotted Victor at the far end of the park. He stood with a few supporters, his presence like a heavy stone dropped into the pond of their efforts. Suddenly, the voices of those gathered grew quieter. Clara's heart raced. "Stay strong," she whispered to herself, returning her gaze to her friends. Just as she was about to speak again, Victor stepped forward, his voice booming though it was far away. "What a farce this is. These children don't belong in our community. They don't deserve your attention." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Clara's stomach dropped, her breath hitching in her throat. They fought so hard to show their true selves. Could this day really be slipping away so fast? There was a moment of silence, heavy with tension. Clara felt the eyes of the crowd on her, waiting, hoping, and maybe even fearing what would happen next. "Listen," she said, her voice rising above the murmurs. "That's exactly why we're here, Victor. We have so much more to give than what you see." The electricity in the air was palpable. She could feel her heart pounding, but this time, it was propelled by determination. The boys stood at her side, ready. But she had no idea how Victor would react next, or if this rally was indeed the climax of her efforts or just the beginning of an even bigger battle. With her heart racing and the crowd watching intently, she stood firm. What would happen if Victor pushed back? Would they hold? Their ground? This was the moment of truth. Clara's pulse thudded in her ears as she looked into the crowd. She could see the uncertainty etched on some faces, while others dared to hope. The thin line between fear and courage danced in the air around them, like tension before a storm. Victor's sharp words had rattled her, but Clara felt a spark inside her, a quiet resolve. Don't listen to Victor, Clara urged, her voice steady now. You know how hard we've worked to make this day happen. Max and Leo aren't here for pity. They're here to share their passion, their dreams, and their unique perspective on life. She scanned the crowd, searching for a kind face, someone who would mirror her belief. There. A woman nodded slowly, whispering to the person next to her. Clara felt a flicker of connection, and the flicker grew. She thought of every parent who worried for their children, every family that had fought for their place in the world. The crowd shifted, leaning in closer as if pulled by an invisible thread connecting them all. It felt like the earth shifted beneath their feet, and Clara's heart raced. With your support, Leo shouted, stepping forward with his tiny hands raised, we can do amazing things. His excitement was infectious, and a few children in the crowd cheered him on. Max quickly joined in, his enthusiasm matching his brother's. We can't let fear win. Let us dream big together. A small child near the front clutched a toy spaceship, eyes wide with admiration. Clara felt hope swell in her chest. This was bigger than them. It was about every individual looking for acceptance and understanding in a world that too often rejected differences. With Victor still looming at the edge of the park, Clara took a step closer, feeling the importance of the moment pulse through her. Victor, doesn't being part of a community mean embracing everyone? Our strength lies in our diversity, in our ability to learn from one another. The spectators looked back at Victor, some shaking their heads while others crossed their arms, ready to defend the boys. Clara realized then that the tide was changing. Suddenly, someone from the back shouted, "We believe in them." The spark ignited further, and murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. Clara's heart soared as she felt their collective strength bolstering her. Victor's expression darkened, confusion furrowing his brow. He hadn't expected this pushback. You're being manipulated. They don't know what's best for you, he cried, but the force in his voice was starting to fade, losing its grip. Who decides what's best for us? Clara countered, her shoulders squared. She was no longer backing down. We choose for ourselves. That's the beauty of our community. The people around her started to clap, a ripple of applause at first, then it grew louder. Clara felt a rush of adrenaline propel her forward. The tide had turned, and with it, the shadows of doubt began to lift. She turned to Max and Leo, their faces lit with fierce pride. They stood tall, shoulders back, surrounded by their newfound supporters who were rising for the truth. Clara felt that spark turn into a flame. This is just the beginning, she exclaimed, her heart swelling with fierce pride for her boys and the community. The crowd roared in approval, and she could see Victor retreating, his confidence wilting under the vibrant energy of unity. But even as victory surged through her, Clara knew this was only the first battle. It was clear from Victor's simmering anger that he wouldn't back down easily. What would he do next? Let us keep this going, she shouted to her boys, their eyes wide with excitement. Our voices matter. Let's keep sharing our dreams. As they took the stage together with their community surrounding them, Clara caught her breath. Could they truly make a lasting change? What would the repercussions be in the days to come? With fierce determination in her heart, she realized the fight wasn't over yet, and the battle for acceptance and understanding had only just begun. The excitement in the park reached a fever pitch, and Clara could feel it thrumming through her veins. Max and Leo stood beside her, their faces glowing with a mix of adrenaline and joy. This moment felt electric, a fragile bubble of hope that could either burst or grow into something monumental. Let us show them who we are, Max shouted, raising a fist in the air. It was a gesture so pure, so full of belief, that Clara couldn't help but join in. She raised her fist, heart pounding with pride as the children around them echoed Max's call, their voices rising together in a powerful choral blend. Then, almost as if to punctuate their unity, the clouds parted overhead and a beam of sunlight broke through the gray. Clara turned her face to the warmth, a smile spreading across her lips. The moment felt like a sign, earnest and hopeful. This is it, she thought. Our moment to shine. But just as quickly the moment shifted. Clara's stomach twisted as she caught sight of Victor again, a dangerous glint in his eye. He was leaning against a tree, arms crossed, gathering his supporters behind him. They looked tense, ready to roar back, fueled by his darkness. It sent a chill through her. We need to keep them uplifted, focused on the message, Clara told Max and Leo, her tone almost urgent. She grabbed their shoulders, her grip firm yet reassuring. Let us keep the energy positive. We're here for them, not against anyone. The boys nodded, determination radiating from their little frames. Without another word, Clara took a step forward, sensing that the fight wasn't just about them anymore. This was about every person who felt alone in their differences, every soul reaching out for acceptance. All right, everyone, what can we create together? Clara called out, her voice ringing clear. Let us show Victor and his friends what unity looks like. Who here believes in the power of dreams? The crowd erupted, voices overlapping like a turbulent wave. Clara felt her heart swell with pride. Around her, she noticed smiles breaking through the clouds of doubt, a transformation happening right before her eyes, and then it happened. Someone in the back held out a colorful sign that read, "We all belong." Caught like wildfire. More hands shot up, showing colorful posters declaring support, inclusion, and love. The message spread like a beacon, lighting up the park with the diversity it celebrated. Inclusion, passion, dreams. Clara shouted, pulling Leo close. She caught the sparkle in his eyes reflecting the sun's rays, igniting the spark of determination shared by so many. Suddenly, Victor pushed off the tree and marched towards them, his features twisted with anger. You think a bunch of posters will change anything? This isn't going to work. He bellowed, but his voice shook, revealing the fear behind his bravado. The crowd responded with a collective cheer, their solidarity crashing over Victor like a tidal wave. Just listen. Clara pleaded, her voice steady. This isn't about you or about us, it's about creating a world where everyone, including your own children, can thrive. Max and Leo echoed her words, their voices rising above the clamor. Believe in us. They shouted in unison, the innocent might of their conviction carrying weight. Clara held her breath, watching Victor's face contort between disbelief and realization. Did he see the truth in their words? Or would he retreat into the shadows, bitter and unyielding? I will. He barked suddenly, but there was a tremor in his tone, a crack that appeared to show his cracks were beginning to show. The crowd hummed with anticipation, each person hanging on to his every word. But then he turned, a whirlwind of frantic movements, and began to retreat again. Clara's heart sank at the lost opportunity. Well, that was something, she thought, frowning at the space he left behind. But she turned to the joyful faces around her, their excitement palpable. This is a journey, not just a moment, she called, her voice rising with the renewed energy of their shared hope. Together they could continue this fight. Was it foolish to dream of transforming Victor's heart? Or could they carry their message into other spaces as well? The sound of the community cheering shook her to her core, that feeling of potential lingering in the air. Clara felt it once more, that stirring inside her, that fire that had begun to spark earlier that day. But as she finished her speech, her gaze fell once again on Victor as he stumbled back to the edge of the park, murmuring to his supporters. The unease of what would happen next nagged at her. A gnawing fear nestled within the thrilling atmosphere. What would he do? And how far were they willing to go to stand together? Clara could feel the ground beneath them shifting again, and deep down, she sensed the challenge looming. Their fight was far from over, and even after today's victories, she knew they would need to gather every ounce of courage they had for what might come next. Clara's heart raced as she scanned the crowd, feeling the palpable energy wrapping around her like a warm embrace. The cheers, the laughter, the joy, they filled the air. But in the pit of her stomach a storm brewed. Victor was retreating, but she could sense that his anger simmered just below the surface. Let us keep this alive, Clara shouted, her voice cutting through the fog of uncertainty. We can do more. Together. The crowd erupted again, chanting her words back at her. Max and Leo stood at her side, their faces flushed with excitement, their cheers as loud as the rest of the group. Clara felt incredibly proud, her heart swelling with the shared enthusiasm. She took a deep breath, drawing strength from the moment. Who wants to join me in a march for love? Show Victor and everyone here that we're not going to be quiet. Hands shot up, eager faces turning toward her, shining bright with hope. Clara couldn't help but smile. Together they were more than just a crowd, they were a movement. The children around her bounced on their toes, ready to unleash their energy in a tangible way. All right, let us form a line. Lead the way, Clara called, her voice ringing with excitement. The group moved, their pace quickening, each person stepping firmly, a ripple of unity swelling through the crowd. As they started marching, Clara turned to Max and Leo. Stay close, okay? And remember, we're showing who we are. Not fighting anyone. Love wins. You got it, Max said with a fierce nod. But Clara couldn't shake the nagging thought of Victor's dark energy creeping back into the scene. She turned to look back at him, and there he stood, arms crossed, his supporters murmuring among themselves like a brewing storm. They had to keep focused. This wasn't about Victor. It was about them, the voices of everyone who felt unheard. Who wants to share their dreams? Clara boomed, raising her hand as the crowd continued moving forward. A girl near the front stood on her tiptoes, her bright pink poster waving wildly in the air. Clara recognized her as Sophie, a spirited 10-year-old with a radiant smile. I want to be an astronaut, Sophie shouted, her voice cutting through the thrumming excitement. And I want to be an artist, another voice chimed in. You're all stars, Clara encouraged, feeling her energy surge. Together we're unstoppable. As more children began to share their dreams, Clara stole a glance back at Victor, who looked more agitated than ever. His brow furrowed as he watched, a silence settling around him and his supporters. What was brewing in that mind of his? The march wound through the park, a colorful stream of posters and youthful enthusiasm. Laughter echoed along with shouts of dreams and hopes, each voice adding fuel to the fire. But as they reached a clearing, Clara noticed Victor moving closer, his body language tense, jaws clenched. Hey, let us make a giant heart on the ground, Leo suggested, the excitement shining in his eyes. The group busied themselves gathering materials, drawing chalk hearts on the concrete. But in the back of her mind, Clara sensed a shadow lingering nearby, contemplating its next move. Just as they were finishing, a shout rang out. It was Victor, charging forward with unexpected fervor. Stop this nonsense. You think drawing hearts will change anything? You're just kids. The world seemed to still. The cheers faded, and every heartbeat drummed loudly in Clara's ears. Leaning into the collective atmosphere of disbelief, she felt a surge of emotion wash over her. You may think we're just kids, but we can dream. We can create. And we are powerful together. Victor's eyes flickered. Clara could see the hunt for something to say, something to reignite the anger within him. But before he could muster a retort, Clara took a step toward him, heart racing. Why don't you join us instead? What's your dream, Victor? Because maybe you are longing for a purpose as well. She held her breath. The crowd stood frozen, unsure of Victor's next move. Would he lash out? Or was there a glimmer of understanding within that hard exterior? The silence thickened the air, a charged moment hanging in the balance, waiting for the truth to emerge. Would Victor reveal vulnerability? Or was darkness still weaving through his heart? Victor's expression was a mix of surprise and confusion, as if Clara's words were a foreign language that pierced through the armor he had built around himself. The crowd shifted restlessly, their anticipation building like a wave ready to crash. Me? What do I have to dream about? His voice was gruff, but a hint of uncertainty quivered underneath. You think I care about your silly hearts? You're out here playing around while the world is serious. The laughter and cheers faded as his words hung in the air, heavy and palpable. Clara's heart sank at his dismissal, but she couldn't let him pull them down. This was a moment of truth, and maybe, just maybe, this could be the key to unlocking something inside him. Victor, dreams are not just for kids. They are for everyone, Clara said, her voice unwavering now, filled with the strength of her belief. What is stopping you? You have a worth that extends far beyond your anger. You matter. From the crowd, murmurs spread. Some nodded in agreement, while a few exchanged doubtful glances. Everyone was holding their breath, caught between fear and hope. Even the young kids began whispering to one another, recognizing that they weren't just fighting for their voices, but for someone else's too. Victor shifted slightly, the tension in his body easing ever so slightly. Clara watched, her heart racing yet again. Was he genuinely thinking? "Why do you care what I think?" he finally asked, though his voice had softened, losing some of its edge. "You don't know where I've come from. Maybe you could share that with us," Clara replied gently, moving a step closer, her heart open wide like the sky above her. "We're here to listen." Victor hesitated. Clara could see his walls beginning to tremble, as if he was caught in a storm of memories. Around them the crowd stirred, and whispers turned into calls for understanding. "Tell us, Victor," one voice cried, emboldened by Clara's fearless spirit. With a sharp exhale, Victor looked around, scanning those youthful faces filled with eagerness and encouragement. Clara couldn't tell if he was frightened or intrigued. "Fine," he snapped, but his voice lacked the fervor of before. "You want to know what I dream? I dream of a place where I can be heard. Not as a noise, but like I actually matter." The crowd stirred. Clara saw understanding wash over several faces. Victor's admission was resonating, cracking through the hardened shell around him. She couldn't help but amplify the moment. "Then join us. Be a part of it. Share your journey with us." At those words the crowd erupted into a cheer, a mighty roar of acceptance that startled even Clara. For a brief instant, Victor's frown softened into something resembling a smile. It flickered and then disappeared. But it was there, the glimmer of hope, that as they all began to gather closer, Clara noticed something shift in Victor's stance. The tension in his body lessened, and the shadows of his anger seemed to retreat just a little. Could this be a turning point? The dread that had loomed over the march was unraveling piece by piece. "Here's a place where everyone belongs, Victor," she exclaimed, her heart in her throat. "You can be a part of this, and we would love to have you, not as a barrier, but as a bridge to your true self." Silence enveloped them again, charged with something almost sacred. Everyone's eyes were trained on Victor, waiting, hoping for him to take that leap of faith. Suddenly, someone from the crowd shouted, "We believe in you." A wave of solidarity pulsed through the group, sending goosebumps up Clara's arms. Victor's gaze flickered to the ground as he processed their words. Clara stepped back and placed her hand on her heart, feeling the warmth of support radiate around her. Victor was at a crossroads. With the crowd rallying behind Clara, they shared a single shared hope, a connection born from the simple act of dreaming. But what would he choose? Would he dare to step into the light of acceptance, or would he retreat into the shadow he had known for too long? Clara could barely breathe, the weight of that question pulling on her chest as Victor remained still, a silent decision waiting to be made. Would he transform with them, or would darkness engulf him one more time? Victor stood there, the world around him fading as he wrestled with the weight of Clara's words. The crowd's support washed over him like a gentle tide, each voice a reminder of the humanity he had been so quick to dismiss. Clara could see the flicker of something beneath his hardened exterior, a longing to be part of something greater, to connect in a way he hadn't allowed himself to consider before. Finally, Victor raised his head, locking eyes with Clara. The silence felt charged, as if the very air was holding its breath. "What if I don't know how?" The question spilled out, raw and tentative, a chink in the armor of defiance he wore so tightly. "That's okay," Clara responded, her heart racing with hope. "None of us start out knowing. This is about learning together. You can share your story and we can build a new path from there." The crowd murmured in agreement, the strength of their belief resonating like a drumbeat. Clara felt a warmth at the possibility of transformation, a change that could ripple through their community, igniting acceptance. Victor took a shaky breath, glancing down at the colorful chalk hearts on the ground, then back at the eager faces surrounding him. "I grew up believing that weakness is a liability, that showing vulnerability makes you a target." His voice cracked slightly, revelation spilling forth. "I'm here to make sure my kids never feel that same pain." As he spoke, Clara felt a powerful shift within the crowd, a collective sense of understanding that everyone carried their own battles, even those who seemed like antagonists. "But what if I can't do it?" Victor asked, battling the vulnerability. A chorus from the crowd rose. "You can. We're here to support you." The voices from both young and old echoed back like a chorus of solidarity. In that moment, something inside Victor seemed to straighten. The hard lines of his face softened. Every ounce of anger seemed to drain away, replaced by a flicker of hope. In those heartbreaking words, he sensed the authenticity of the community stretching out before him, a community that was willing to offer him grace. Clara stepped forward, her heart pounding. This is our mission, Victor, to uplift each other. Let your story be a beacon for others who feel unseen, like your children. It's time to walk together. Victor nodded slowly, uncertainty dancing across his features. I'll try if they will let me. The tremble in his voice betrayed the fear still lingering beneath the surface, but Clara could hear the faint glimmer of resolve. Yes, join us, Clara urged, her own heart flaring with excitement. Let us take this journey together. You can speak from your truth and help bridge the gaps. Voices matter, and yours will make a difference. The atmosphere shifted, and suddenly, Victor found himself being enveloped by the warmth of acceptance. Children raced forward, ready to show him their chalk hearts, their laughter a bridge he never knew he needed. As the community surged around Victor, the feeling of collective love swelled vibrantly, transforming the park into a vibrant tapestry woven from their differences. Clara couldn't contain her emotions. Tears of joy filled her eyes, watching as the children pulled Victor into their laughter, infusing him with a spirit of buoyancy he had long ago abandoned. Together, Clara called out, an electric thrill running through her. This is what belonging feels like. Let us keep dreaming together. A roar erupted from the crowd, louder and more uplifting than before. Clara stood proudly beside her boys as victory glimmered in the air. Could this truly be the dawn of a new understanding? Their community had faced down the darkness and emerged determined to be better. As the sun began to dip low in the sky, casting a golden hue over the park, Clara took a moment to breathe. It was more than victory. It was home, a sanctuary illuminated by love, acceptance, and the power of dreams. For Max and Leo, lights in her world, the fight for their voices was not a struggle. Their future had ignited with possibilities, bright as the stars they dreamed of. Reaching, they were not just part of the community, they had transformed it. Tears streamed down Clara's cheeks, a mix of relief, joy, and immense pride. They had conquered their fears together, standing tall in their truth. And in that moment, she knew this was where they belonged. Let us fly to the stars, Leo cheered, and the crowd erupted in laughter. Absolutely, Max chimed in, a grin stretching widely across his face. As Clara embraced her boys, a wave of warmth enveloped them all. The community gathered close, a bundle of dreams, shared struggles, and newfound connection. This was only the beginning. Today they unified. Tomorrow they would rise stronger. As the echoes of hope reverberated through the park, Clara felt a fire within. They would continue fighting together, breathing dreams into existence, one heartbeat at a time. And more importantly, they would rise, lifting the entire community with them. You need to subscribe now to keep witnessing these transformative journeys. This is the moment to show your support and follow along on this incredible path. Don't wait not even one more second to drop a like, fueling our mission. Comment your feelings and thoughts about the ending, and share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need a glimpse of hope and human connection. Together we spread the light.